Welcome to the Wealth Stream Podcast. The team at Hightower Great Lakes share their insights and passions for empowering their clients to live their best life. In this energetic podcast, we will take you on a journey to help you navigate your financial future, overcome life's challenges to reach your financial goals, and find the financial clarity you've been searching for. Let's explore the downstream impact of your wealth and what it means to you, your family, and your community to live greater.
Hello and welcome to the Wealth Stream with Tim Scannell from Hightower Great Lakes. Good morning, Tim. How are you?
I'm doing well, Eric. And I understand it's very cold by you. It's sunny and warmer here, so I guess I'm fortunate and I'm happy.
Yeah, it's sunny here, but cold. You're right. It is. It is kind of chilly, which is fine. Because I'm inside my house, nice and warm in my office, and that's the beauty of working from home, working virtually.
Exactly.
Right?
This new world, this new virtual world.
That's right. And that's what we're talking about today. You are bringing some things up to the audience about the virtual world.
Exactly. As a team, we spend a lot of time and energy on continuing education, research, periodicals, conferences, but we also learn a lot from our clients. And rather than talk about planning topics today, I thought we would jump into maybe some of the things I've learned this year, last year also, as a result of COVID, from clients, from peers. So basically virtual experiences that I think that the listeners would love to hear about and maybe take advantage of, because these are things that a lot of my clients have really enjoyed and learned, and we've learned from them. So I'm grateful that we typically try to dive in and get engrossed in our clients' lives and as we help them plan. And we get a lot of feedback, and this is one of them. So I just thought we'd talk about something maybe a little more fun, maybe not as dry today.
So virtual experiences. Now this is interesting. I remember way back in the day, virtual reality glasses or goggles or headsets or whatever. I think I saw my first one when I was in my early teens, and it was very basic and rudimentary, but it was this huge headset that you had to put on, and you were, when your head moved to the left or right, you'd be looking left or right on the screen, and it was some sort of very block-like figures running around. It was very strange, but it intrigued me back then because, I liked video games. I liked that kind of technology. So I thought it was very interesting. Obviously, it's come leaps and bounds, from where it was. But is that what you're talking about? Kind of like virtual reality headsets and things?
Well, not directly that. I do have a quick tidbit on that, though. A couple of years ago when, holidays were getting kind of testy with all the politics going on. So I did buy a virtual reality headset. And if anyone brought up the topic of politics, they went to the corner and put it on, and they went on a roller coaster. It was actually pretty an amazing headset. And it worked. There were no arguments, no fights that I was aware of anyway. But no, that's not what we really want to cover. There are some things like that, but really it's more, as we all got locked down last year and people were spending more time, whether working remotely, being at home, selecting your pod, with fewer people, there was just a lot of companies kind of switched to virtual, where instead of going to a restaurant, instead of traveling to Europe, things like that, there's this trend that, that people were following. In fact, I was researching a little bit for the podcast, and one of the things I saw is that when people Google, you can get information about what people are Googling about, and one of the trends, and they do surveys, and one of the things that I think I've found is that, or that I saw, is that really I think a lot of these virtual things are here to stay, and that's really what a lot of people are saying. More than half the people in one of the surveys I read talked about the fact that they'll continue doing some of this. And I know from an investment standpoint, we do a lot of research on individual companies, and they're spending gobs of money, tons of research on virtual events, virtual travel, virtual reality, augmented reality, things like that. So I think it's here to stay, and I just thought I'd kind of go through a couple real specific items that clients have really enjoyed.
Yeah. All right. Where do we start?
So the first one is virtual travel. I don't know if you ever knew anybody who used to go on these elder hostels. Are you familiar with that, Eric?
I'm not. What is an elder hostel?
So an elder hostel, I had some aunts and uncles who used to take trips where you go to Europe, and the elder hostel was you actually stay at hostels and you go on tours, and there's tour guides, and Interestingly, they rebranded last year, and now they're called Road Scholar, ROAD.
Yeah.
They're trying to appeal to the younger generation, right?
I think that makes a lot more sense because the
It's a
first
much
thing I
better-
think of is a bunch of hostile elders.
Exactly.
Get off my bus. Had
Somebody
people,
got
I don't know.
yeah. Somebody got to them about branding, and that was smart. But I did
absolutely.
notice that last year I started getting emails from Road Scholar, and where you couldn't take these trips around the country, around the world, and do these events, they started creating virtual ones. I had a client also tell me about the Paris Catacombs. Like instead of going to Paris and checking out these subterranean tunnels that literally house apparently about 6 million people, they've gone virtual. So you could actually go online and Google, and you could take these virtual travel tours. And I've had a number of clients say that it's not the same, right? But it is next best thing. And there's some really great ones out there that are almost like virtual reality.
Yeah, very, very interesting. You said the Paris Catacombs and that it houses 6 million people. I'm assuming they're dead people, right? In the
I
catacombs?
assume that too. Yeah,
Okay.
that's my guess because I've never been there. Actually never been to Paris.
That would be that'd be a very beneficial virtual tour. I don't know if I
Yes.
necessarily would want to be in the catacombs, down there hanging out with
Well,
them.
you could also instead go to the Palace of, I'm going to mispronounce it, Versailles, I think is how you
all right.
pronounce it, as an alternative if you don't want to see the catacombs in Paris.
Cool. Yeah, that's very, very interesting. And so they do these things virtually, and people are able to attend. Are they organized? Do you know if they have them with like other people? So in other words, like, hey, the tour is going to start at 7:00 p.m. Central Time or Eastern Time or whatever, and there's multiple people taking the tour at the same time, so you can interact. Do you know?
Yep, that's correct. You
Wow,
can. So
really?
in some instances, you're on your own. You're doing these 360-degree walks, through them. But in other instances, you can sign up and you actually get, live guides, and you can ask questions and things like that. So they've really gone digital and responded very quickly to COVID. It's great. I've had a lot of clients say they really enjoyed it.
Yeah, and I'll be honest, Tim, that this whole virtual thing, it really could. It's something that I would look forward to, and being able to get more exercise doing, because I don't know if you've seen it, but they actually have those virtual headsets where you can do the walking around a location like the palace or the catacombs, but you actually they've created treadmills where you actually, when you walk, that's when you move. Instead of having a joystick move you like you do on game controllers, you actually have to walk, or you can run someplace. Like if you want to run a trail in the Ozarks or wherever, you can do that on these machines. Now, obviously, they're probably pretty expensive, but that might be something to get me out of the house while I'm still in my house.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, we mentioned virtual reality headsets. I read today that next week, I think, a company called Oculus, and they're coming out with brand new sets that are in the $200-$300 range that you don't have to connect to your laptop. And supposedly, we'll find out next week, but you can do virtual travel. Or I know when I did the headset before the virtual reality, you could go to do virtual art. So, for example, like the Metropolitan Museum of Art or the Uffizi Gallery in France, you can now, on your laptop or with these headsets, but most people do it on their laptop, go through and see hundreds of thousands of exhibits, pieces of art that you'd normally have to go to New York to see. So even the museums themselves, have really gone digital and responded quickly and opened up their galleries to the world, which, I've had a number of clients who are just big art lovers, and they've really enjoyed it.
Wow. That to me, that's very, very interesting. That would be fun.
Yeah. Now, I'll be frank, I'm not that into the art or even into the virtual travel, but what I really have enjoyed myself, and I've had more clients tell me about, is the virtual eating and drinking. So, like, I've had clients, some of the wineries in Napa Valley, what they'll do is they'll have these virtual events where they actually ship the wine, and you can do it as a group, and you all get on either Zoom or some variation of that, and they pair it with food, and sometimes they'll send you the recipes, or just cooking classes. There's somebody had told me about one where there's a Boston restaurant that apparently claims to have the best dumplings in the world. So you can go to, it's MEI, or Mia, I think is how they say it. But just things like that, these companies that maybe couldn't get the people in the door have really made the effort to try and, do business virtually. And some of it's really worked out well, some of it not so good, but clients really seem to enjoy it.
Yeah, that would be interesting. It'd be nice to be able to do that, with a small group of your friends, even though if you're still not wanting to get together socially, all of you plan this event and, do something either over Zoom or do something, if they host it online and they walk people through it all at the same time, that would be kind of fun to be in a separate Zoom meeting with your friends to talk about, what you're thinking of it, or, which wine you like or which food you like, or if these really are the best dumplings. That'd be kind of fun.
Yeah. And I've learned a lot from parents I work with and grandparents. There's a lot of virtual kid-friendly things to do too. A lot of the zoos. I remember, I think it was sometime last year, you might have seen it in the news, but there was a giraffe at one of the zoos having a baby.
Oh, yeah.
And they said that the number of views for that was just through the roof.
Yeah.
People just had it on their computer screen throughout the day. But again, the zoos, there's a beluga whale apparently at a Georgia aquarium that someone told me about. I'm a big fan of the Shed Aquarium in Chicago because I probably go there once a year, once every other year, and they've gone online. And then the one I really noticed, we had our grandchildren over last year, and they were watching the NASA SpaceX landing.
Oh, yeah.
And it really, I have a granddaughter, Eileen, who's in kindergarten, and she was just glued to the TV. And so I think there's these virtual kid-friendly events and things to do that I think are really expanding kids' experiences and knowledge. It's amazing.
Yeah, that's great. I remember the giraffe specifically because it was really neat to see how many people were kind of investing online their time. You would see offices doing, like, they would put together pools, right?
Mm-hmm.
Of, when the baby was going to drop, literally.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
kind of how the giraffes have babies. They just kind of drop them out there. And then you could see also the active chats in different groups. You would see these chat channels that were just flying. People, I don't know how people keep up with it, but they're, typing messages to each other and all sorts of discussion happening. And it kind of brought people together. That's kind of interesting.
Oh, for sure. And the other category that I've found that people have told me a lot about is this virtual nature. I'm sure you're just super happy in Nebraska and don't care to leave it. But if you ever did want to leave Nebraska virtually, you could go to explore.org. This is a site that I've seen where they take you to Montana and see the osprey, or they take you to Brooks Falls and National Park in Alaska. And I've been fortunate fishing in Canada where I have seen the Northern Lights, but you could also go to explorefairbanks.com, which is, Alaska, and they have a 360-degree video of all kinds of different activities, including the Northern Lights and sled dogs races and things like that. So there's some pretty cool ways to explore nature in your free time, while you're COVID locked up.
Yeah. No, that'd be nice.
Yeah. And the one that I've really taken advantage of, I know the listeners or got to meet my wife, Nancy. She's definitely taken advantage of this, is virtual learning. In my industry, we're required to get continuing ed as a CFP, as a CPA, as a securities professional. So there's, 50, 60 hours a year that we used to go to conferences, to get those credits. And we've ended up getting a lot of those, virtually. But beyond that, even, like, I signed up for, are you familiar, Eric, with Masterclass? Have you seen that?
I have.
Yeah, so I signed up for Masterclass, and I took a negotiating class there. My wife Nancy's taken a couple of creative writing classes, and, she's in one class that there's hundreds of people, actually several hundred people around the world. They have breakout sessions, and she loves it. And the clients that I have who have done some of these classes, virtual learning, have really enjoyed it too.
Yeah. I saw a lot on that masterclass series before. I thought that was pretty interesting.
Yeah, and one of the things that we study from an investment standpoint is we call it disintermediation, or what industries are ripe for technology to step in and really dramatically change. And one of the industries is education, and in particular university education. And there's a number of companies out there that are disrupting it. Like just in our example of Indiana a couple years ago, Purdue University acquired Kaplan, so that they could start offering online education. There's a company that I found called Section 4, and in May I'm going to be taking a business strategy in the digital age by a NYU professor who's renowned, the Stern Business School. And this is something that I couldn't access even a year ago. But this move towards, taking some of these, like the Harvard, the Stanford, some of the bigger universities are taking some of their best professors, their most popular courses, and they're putting them online. And in many instances, they're free. And this one in particular, you would normally pay about $7,500 for this class, and I'm going to take it for, I think, $700. And I'm really excited about it because it's something that I couldn't possibly do even a year ago. But as a result of technology changes and industry changes and COVID, these are some of the things that are available that I'm really excited about.
Yeah, I mean, the funny thing is I find it so interesting. This is like almost the rebirth of the internet because exactly what you just said is something somebody said 15 to 20 years ago about the internet. Things I couldn't access before, now I can access. And this is like one step beyond, right? Now it's not just accessing Google to ask a question and get an answer instantly. You have access to true professors that, you normally would have to be sitting in their classroom to take advantage of, learning from them. It's crazy. So I love the fact that we're taking the internet one step further, and it's almost kind of like a shakeup of the internet in a way, because it was all about learning to begin with, and then all of a sudden it was just nothing but cat memes, and now it's back to really, some good quality content.
Yeah, I mean, I looked up this. There's a place called Class Central. And what's happened is the Ivy League has put some of their most popular classes online for free. So you can go to Brown or Columbia, Harvard, Penn, Princeton, Yale. For example, like Yale, there's Introduction to Psychology by one of their most popular professors in that part of the university. Or machine learning out at Stanford University, or the Science of Well-Being at Yale. So there's all these classes that we couldn't possibly have taken unless you're one of the the acceptance rate at these universities is like 2%. But even if you don't want to take some of those classes, I mean, I had a client who learned to dance the flamingo, so you can do that too, right?
Nice.
Yeah. Everyone is getting into it. All these companies are getting into it. And that's one of the reasons why I think it's here to stay. I just don't think it's going to change. Now, hopefully we're all going to be outside, soon, and we're back with groups at some point. So Eric, I don't know about you, but have you gotten your vaccine yet? Your shot?
I have not. My wife has. She's a little higher on the list than I am because she works with kids and families. And since I don't go anywhere, I'm a little lower on the list, and I'm okay to wait. I want to make sure the people that are actually interacting with other people in real life get it first, and then I'll be getting mine. I think I'm actually scheduled in the next couple of weeks.
Oh, excellent. Yeah, my wife, Nancy, and I, we got our second shot last Friday.
Nice.
And so apparently in a couple of weeks, we'll be able to maybe go see our grandkids more. Hopefully go see her mom, who's in a retirement home. So hopefully we'll all be out and we'll all be doing things this summer, this fall. But I still think that we're all going to be taking advantage of this trend to go virtual, and whether it's eating, drinking, nature, or learning. I think we're all going to be doing it.
Oh yeah. Well, and the thing is that this has been a good introduction to that, because of the fact that even if we can go outside, I can't get to Yale, right? Mm-hmm. I'm not going to get to some of these other things. I'm not going to go to the the vineyards. I don't know if there are any. Actually, I do know there are vineyards here in Nebraska. Just we've actually been to a couple, but I'm definitely not going to be able to go to the ones in California anytime soon. And again, financially, it would be great to be able to experience these things on a smaller scale, of course, but to still be able to experience them with friends, but just do it virtually, so we can actually take advantage of things outside of Nebraska.
Exactly. And what I find, and I always talk to clients about as they're planning for retirement, as they're in retirement, is it's not always about the money. We make these calculations, forecasts, we manage their plan, we help make sure that they don't run out of money, that They're not going to outlive their resources. But another key part of it is challenging your brain and talking to people. And there's for a number of reasons, some people aren't getting out, can't get out. I just think this is one way to challenge your brain. And even on these virtual tours where you are able to talk to people, it's not the same as being in the same room, same place, but you are able to challenge your brain and talk to people with these things. So I highly recommend everyone consider and research, the virtual places that can really, whatever they're interested in, because there's plenty of options.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know that you, Tim, you meet with people virtually if they want to as well. So if they want to have the Tim virtual experience,
yes, exactly.
How do they do that?
So they can send me an email at tscannell@hightoweradvisors.com, or they can always call at 219-246-5370, and we're always interested in talking.
Absolutely. Tim, thank you so much. I love this stuff. This is a little bit different than a lot of the podcasts that we've done lately, but still incredibly important and eye-opening, because some of these things I just never heard of before. And I'm not sure I'll be taking advantage of the flamenco dancing classes, but some of the other ones sounded pretty good. So thank you so much for talking about that today.
And you should get out of Nebraska periodically. I'm just saying.
I would love to. I would absolutely love to. All right, Tim, thank you so much, and I look forward to our next conversation.
Thank you. I appreciate it, Eric.
You bet. And of course, our last thank you goes to the listening audience. Thank you so much for tuning in and listening to the Wealth Stream Podcast with Tim Scannell. If you have not subscribed to the podcast yet, please click the subscribe now button below. This way, when Tim comes out with a new podcast, it'll show up directly on your listening device. This makes it much easier to share these podcasts with your friends and family. Again, thank you so much for listening today. For everyone at Hightower Great Lakes, this is Eric Johnson reminding you to live your best day every day. And we'll see you next time.
Thank you for listening to the Wealth Stream Podcast. We hope you gained some valuable insight that you can apply to your life and share with others. Please don't forget to subscribe below to be notified when new episodes become available. And don't forget to live greater. The information covered and posted represents the views and opinions of the guest and does not necessarily represent the views or opinions of Hightower Great Lakes. The content has been made available for informational and educational purposes only. The content is not intended to be a substitute for professional investing advice. Always seek the advice of your financial advisor or other qualified financial service provider with any questions you may have regarding your investment planning. Hightower Great Lakes is a group of investment professionals registered with Hightower Securities, LLC, member FINRA and SIPC, and with Hightower Advisors, LLC, a registered investment advisor with the SEC. Securities are offered through Hightower Securities, LLC. Advisory services are offered through Hightower Advisors, LLC.